This is Kimberly Reuter, business advisor and supply chain expert, and welcome to my podcast, The Morning Mood. I am here for episode 2 of the Architects EU Last Mile Logistics with the famous Thorsten Runge, who has been sharing with us what was going on in the market at Amazon at the time. So please go back and listen to our first episode if you want to learn more about the EU market, e-commerce market that was going on in the early 2000s or mid 2000s when Thorsten was building last mile delivery for Amazon. So in this episode, what we're going to get into is how Torsten solved the problem. Because as we've established, this wasn't a matter of Torsten just finding a last mile courier and implementing it at Amazon. This industry did not exist. There were not couriers who were doing this last mile TV delivery at the time in Europe. So he actually created an industry. So he's going to tell us today how he went about doing that. Torsten, thank you for being here.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Hey, so tell us, right, so you've told us before, like, what was going on. You get, like, 3 weeks notice that you gotta deliver TVs for Europe or for Germany, right?
Yeah.
So tell us, what did you have to do this? So there were no couriers and carriers doing this at this time. So what'd you do?
So, actually, you know what? I was kind of for the TVs. It was in the end, well, apart from a lot of sleepless nights and so on, I was to find a carrier, right, to accept a limited number of televisions to get it done, so that Amazon, at least in Germany, could say, okay, we are now selling TVs, right?
Yeah. You
Um,
could have some success, and you put a limited product out there basically is what
yeah,
you're trying to do, an MVP. Yep.
exactly, right. And then kind of within to launch this in 3 weeks, that was the only way to get it done, right? Um, I think the more interesting thing was like then how we got into last mile by Amazon, right? For everything, for right
Yeah.
parcels and so on. And I said like in the first episode, the costs were increasing, et cetera, and so on. And I'll never forget this moment. I was in Seattle in the corridor, met the then vice president of global transportation and logistics, Amazon.
Are you talking about Garish?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the man.
Also known as Big G.
Sorry.
Also known as Big G.
Yeah. Right. And so he stopped me in the corridor and said, "Listen, Thorsten, um, we've reached end of line with negotiating faster transportation, cheaper transportation, more predictable and trackable transportation. We've reached end of line, right?" As in, and what he meant is like working with other carriers and with the carriers that we were working with at the time. And we were working with basically everyone then because we had too much volume. And he said, like, would you mind writing me a white paper what the solution is? Right. I said, well, okay then. Right. I think I went, after that conversation, I went to the bathroom. I was physically sick. But anyway, so he asked me to say, can I write my white paper? What's the solution? Right.
Mhm.
And said like, will 6 months be enough? Right. So he gave me 6 months to do that. I have to admit, I missed the deadline. It was 7 months in the end. Right. So, and yeah, so in that white paper, there were about like 5 different approaches. And one of the approaches to solve this problem of ever growing volume and cost, etc., was that I thought like, okay, we'll just do deliveries ourselves, as in Amazon, right? So
Mhm.
we'll have vans,
Right.
we'll have drivers, we'll have etc., etc. Basically, create the infrastructure that a parcel carrier would have, and do it ourselves. And actually, the 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 way I got to that actually was like I was initially actually it wasn't like tons of analysis and so on. Actually, I knew that a parcel carrier had to do about like 140 deliveries with one driver, one van per day to make the vehicle pay,
Yeah.
like or to be cost effective.
Mhm.
Right. So I went on Google Maps and selected an area that was I was familiar with. which
Hmm.
was the area around Glasgow University, because I still lived in Scotland at the time. And I
Yep.
put all the deliveries of one day. And guess what? It was 160. I thought, well, let's plot another day and another day. And we actually consistently had enough volume in that area, right? And that was for me like an easy way to figure out, if you like, so could this ever work, right?
Right.
Um,
Okay. So this was part of, so this was in addition to, this was in addition to what you're working on and trying to do last mile delivery for more than books, more
no,
than
this
BMVD, right?
actually, so this was for everything.
Okay, right.
Because we
So
like, so the
I want to keep the I'm trying to keep the audience up to date here. So we were talking about we're going to deliver TVs. We had to figure out how to deliver TVs for Christmas, right? For EU. So we've solved that problem now, or this is in parallel. You've been talking about we should do our own delivery.
we should do our own delivery, because then
Okay, so this was in parallel. Got it.
that was in parallel, right?
Okay.
Because obviously our usual carrier said like, no, we're not
We
doing,
kept saying no, right? Okay, that was the
yeah,
link,
we're
right?
not
Is you
doing
kept going to
this.
carriers and they were like, we don't do that. We don't do that. Do it. And you're like, hey, one option here is for us to, in all of these 5 options, one option is for us to do it ourselves. Okay, great. I just want to make sure we're tracking.
Yeah, sure. Right. So no, this definitely was, if you really for everything, because we wanted
Yeah. Oh, totally.
to break free from
Yes.
a carrier saying, well, I only do parcels, right? No
Yes.
one picks up, but I only do TVs, right?
Right.
And I only do washing machines and
Yes.
so on, right? So
Perfect.
we needed something that would allow us to deliver a consistently brilliant, delightful Amazon
Experience.
across.
For a variety of products. Yeah, so I think this is also interesting for us to step on or step into a little bit here too. At the time, Amazon's breadth of products was like exploding. We were adding clothing, home goods, children, electronics, like automotive, science and industry. We were adding like product groups every single week. It felt like we were definitely adding new products every single day. So, yeah, it was a very unique experience, and at the time, couriers really were specialized, right? You had your, your appliance carriers, you had your parcel carriers. They did really kind of specialize in specific things. So, you're up against this. I've either got to manage 250 specialized carriers who do only one thing, or I got to figure out something else.
Yeah. And the carriers, especially the, let's say, small
Mhm.
parcel carriers, were really unhappy with us, right? Because obviously they based their pricing on what was known as your standard average size Amazon parcel, right? And they would come
Ah,
with their trailers, with the big truck,
right.
to the Amazon fulfillment centers, and they were used to cramming in about like 5,000 of those parcels, right?
Yep.
And then, as you say, like adding different things, toasters, clothing, etc., etc. One day they start coming and say, "Oh, so hold on, we used to collect 5,000 parcels in one trailer, and now we collect 2,000,
Right.
right?
Problem. Yeah.
Well, now you need 2.5 or 3 trailers from us, which we haven't priced, and therefore you need to pay more, right?
Yeah.
And so on, right?
Yes. Right, because all of these companies my experience with a lot of this as well was that these companies were seeing Amazon grow so fast, and they were a little bit like, "I want a piece of the pie too." Like, "You don't get to just squeeze me and make me do this for, like, pennies." So there was a lot of pushback in the early days because Amazon wasn't quite the 600-pound gorilla it is today. So yeah, so interesting conversations for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amazon, not only Amazon customers, but obviously
Yeah.
Amazon being, I'd say, the force in e-tail at the time,
Yeah.
right? Amazon customers got used to that they get their stuff quickly, as in, and it was more and more like, yeah, but I want it next day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And,
And I want it all next day. I
well,
just don't want the
all
book
next,
next day.
right?
Yeah. I
Uh,
want the TV and the book.
yeah, exactly. And together delivered by the
Yes.
same guy, right?
Yes. I don't wanna answer the door twice, okay?
Yeah,
1.
absolutely. Like, and that was obviously nowadays you can track everything, like even
Oh, right. But back then it was a bit of a mystery.
then there wasn't, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like the way the customers predicted when their stuff would arrive is by choosing next day delivery because
Yeah.
they would know it was the next day, right?
Yeah.
Something else was like, well, it might be the day after or the day after
Right. Or
that.
day after that, or day after
Who
that. We're
knows?
not sure. Yeah, we don't know exactly when it's gonna come in. All
Yeah.
right, so you were one of the first people to propose an Amazon run, managed delivery network.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that was one of so in the white paper was there was kind of five different, if you like, proposals or solutions, right?
Mhm.
And Amazon getting their own delivery vehicles, own drivers, and so on, so on, so on. That was one of the five.
Yeah.
And so obviously, kind of, I was immensely proud until the moment that someone came back to me and said, like, "That's great. Now go and do it."
And you're like, "Oh, no. No, it was just a concept. I didn't actually expect to actually make this happen."
Yeah.
So is that what you went forward with? Did you move forward with sort of like a hybrid approach with to solve this problem, which was some courier and then started building the delivery network? Like, how did you ultimately what was I know the solutions are living. But what was the solution you actually kind of came up with? Did you move forward with the same day delivery or with this courier network?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
we did move forward with that because I was actually out of the five proposals, the one that would address a number of challenges all at the same time. The cost,
Yeah.
the predictability, the service level, the variety of goods to be delivered, and so on, right? So that really addressed most of the challenges in the most effective way. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I know Amazon. So between now and then, while you're building out this courier network, and we're going to get into the details because episode 3 is about what you actually implemented and how
Yeah.
it went. But, so before this, before you kind of come up with this courier thing, and I want to get into this, the reason I want to kind of hammer on how things happened is that people have this perception, they only see what Amazon puts out, right? They don't see what goes in to making an Amazon operation supply chain product because it's what these are. These are products or services. So they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
see what goes into this, right? They're like, oh, well, Amazon's been doing same day forever. Like, no, we started in a hole. So I know Amazon, you got to deliver TVs for Christmas in Germany. But so now every country wants some sort of delivery. So are you working with like private couriers while you're trying to build the network? Like, what are you doing to kind of bridge the gap here?
Yeah, that's a really great point, right? Because it was a really challenging balance to maintain, right? So on the one hand, obviously, for as long as there is no deliveries by Amazon, right, own vehicles and drivers and so on, you need to keep the carriers on site, right? And then in the beginning, obviously, as you say, like people see like what Amazon puts out and say, "Oh, deliveries by Amazon, fabulous," right?
No, they
Uh,
just whip that up on Friday.
but obviously, you're not going to open up whatever um, three parcel hubs and 50
Right.
delivery depots with a fleet of 2,000 vans and drivers overnight. So you need to do
Right.
this step by step, right?
Yeah.
If like analyze actually very, very carefully, if like, so what is the location? Where do we start? Do we
Yeah.
start in the
Where
UK,
do you start?
start in Germany? Do we in the if the UK, do we start in Milton Keynes? Do we start in Glasgow? Do what? Right?
Yeah.
Uh, and what does that mean? Like, so what do people in Milton Keynes order? And can we do that as of day one? And so on. So kind of, right. So because you can't just say like, oh, here I go. Here, I've got a van. And
No. Oh, no, we had to hook it yeah, just to, like so a couple of things I just wanna, call out here. One, at Amazon, like, I don't know how it is today, but back in the day, when you got a special project, they didn't put like a little cocoon around you and be like, okay, now go work on this little special project and let us know you're gone. It was like, no, in addition to the job you're already doing, in addition to all the deliveries you're already running, and to deliver the 455 carriers you're already managing, I want you to build this new thing. Okay. But you got to keep all this shit running.
Yeah.
And so that, like, so just so everyone knows, like, this was not
For
like we got a special little program and we went off to the side. Like, no, this is you are actually managing this brand new courier network that you've built or trying to build, and you're are with the actual people who own their own trucks, right? The actual outside carriers. And you're also trying to design and build this Amazon owned courier network at the same time.
now you forgot something. And work on the business plan for the next 3 years. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and the OPI plan for the next 3 years, right, yeah, okay, just that, because that never took any time to craft those documents. Well, that's a whole other story. That's actually a good art. I should actually do a podcast on the famous Amazon, um, business doc.
Absolutely. Yeah. That we were
What
for.
was it, a 6-pager? It was 6 pages, that's what it was, the famous
Yeah.
6-pager.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And why it was 6, I don't know why that was an arbitrary number. Do you know why it was 6? I don't know,
I have no idea who came up
but it
with
was 6. You only got 6.
why 6 pages. Yeah.
Yeah, we were a lot of 6-pagers. Okay, so just I wanna take a moment there, so while Torsten's trying to figure all this out, he's actually already running an active live last mile delivery network.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah.
gets more complicated every day. Like, it's just
No, but obviously, you know what? I'm still in touch with many people like who were in my team at the time, right?
Yeah,
I had a fabulous team, right? I mean,
you
obviously,
did.
no one does that all on their own, right? I mean, it's like
No, you
a
had great people.
fabulous team, right?
You did. You did. And we were kind of, you remember Jennifer, she's here visiting me right now. And we were kind of laughing about the old EU days, and how much we love the Luxembourg office because that was my favorite. But we still remember you hanging out the window, the back window, because of all the stress.
And it's
Trying to like survive.
let's not go into detail on that one, right?
We don't need that's why I left some of the details. But yeah, that's our memory of you. Really, this is Torsten hanging out the office window, just like with your hair on fire because like just it was nonstop at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was 24/7. Yeah, that's just how it was back then. It was totally crazy. So excellent episode, excellent podcast telling us about how you did this. So what you did is you came up with 5 options on how you can actually solve this problem in Europe worldwide or Europe wide, well, not just the UK or Germany. This was a EU wide solution.
Mhm.
This is back when the UK was actually still part of Europe. So just for you people who forgot that
Well,
the UK used to be part of Europe or the EU.
you know what? Geographically, it still is. Right? So
It is, yeah. So you wrote a white paper and you presented 5 different concepts on how to solve this problem. And Amazon wanted to move forward with building your own courier network, and that's how this came about.
yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. All right. So on our next episode, you got to tune in to find out how Torsten actually implemented this and what he learned along the way. So I just want to reiterate for all you people out there, this is the man who built it in Europe. So you got to tune in and listen to what he's got to say.
Yeah, and
Anything you want to leave us with, Torsten?
episode 3 will be very interesting.
It's going to be lit. That's what we're going to say. It's going to be lit. That's what we say here in the South. We say it's lit. But yeah. All right, great. So thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate you tuning in. And Torsten and I will be back with you, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks
Bye.
for having me. Bye.